Industry Insider is only available at Promo Corner, the leader in digital marketing for the promotional products industry. Each Monday, they discuss, dissect, and debate a single issue impacting the world of promotional marketing from every industry perspective. Now, it's time for Promo Corner's Industry Insider.
Welcome to another edition of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. But before we get to them, I do just want to talk to you guys just really quickly about our awesome sponsors for this wonderful show that you're about to tune into. That would be none other than Tervis, right, Meg? You love Tervis.
They tweeted to me. They tweeted to me.
Did they? Are they sending you like a whole range of tumblers?
No, I don't know. Not yet.
They probably should for that.
I'm going to try that strategy.
I mean, I was thinking on my Tervis, right? I thought it was a Tervis and ended up being a Yeti, and I was like, oh.
That's how nice Tervis is, right, Jeff?
Exactly. Look, Tervis is better than Yeti. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So they've been around since 1946. Yeti hasn't. All right. Starting with their classic line, sleek style makes perfect for the active and on-the-go lifestyle. Tervis is the original double-wall insulated drinkware that keeps cold drinks cold and reduces condensation. It's backed by a made-for-life guarantee. Tervis is that original customizable double-wall insulated drinkware. It keeps your hot drinks hot. That coffee for 8 hours, baby, and your cold drinks cold for up to 24 hours. That ice is still there the next day. It is a awesome drinking vessel, let me tell you. They've got them available in several sizes, including a 16-ounce mug, 16 and 24-ounce tumblers, 24-ounce water bottle. They've also got a 24, 30, and 40-ounce wide mouth bottles now, great for slipping those ice cubes in the bottles, all right? Made for Triton plastic, made in America, lifetime warranty dishwasher, microwave safe, and they're also BPA free. So you guys got to go check them out at tervispromos.com. You won't be sorry that you did. You're going to save a ton of money if you're trying to source Yetis, let me just tell you. And you're going to get a better product. Exactly. Hey, Meg, I love your background. Why don't you tell us about that?
So we are here today with Ellen Tucker. Super excited. She's going to give us the lowdown on next week's Direct-2-You. Next week, right? Next week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll all be in Vegas next year. So I'm kind of trying to from the Mandalay Bay convention floor. So we're not going to be there, unfortunately, this year. Nobody is. It's all going to be virtual, and we have Ellen here to tell us about it. So Ellen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Well, why don't we introduce Stephen McFadden first? Because normally we introduce
I forgot.
you guys. And then we talk to the special guest.
Sorry, I was hiding in that back VIP booth.
I know it's
eye candy. You know
it's
exactly
kind of
where
hard
I'm
to
at,
see.
I'm sure.
He's back in that crowd at the show.
There's that little spot that tucks
floor.
that kind of tucks out in the back of the dance floor area. That's the spot. Can kind of get away from all the people that are up here. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
That's where I'm at.
Fair enough. So listen, like Meg alluded, we are joined today by PPAI's Ellen Tucker. She is the boss lady when it comes to this show, and so we're here to get the information direct from Ellen. And Ellen, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, how you got involved with PPAI? Were you aware of the promotional products promotional products before you got involved in our industry and all that good stuff? Tell us about Ellen Tucker.
So I have been with PPI for 7 years now, or almost 7 years. I started off as just our director of business development. So that's the job responsible for all the non-dues revenue. So all the sponsorship, exhibit sales, all of that stuff. And since then, I have taken over the expositions team. So that happened this year during the pandemic. Not a better year than the year you have to kind of reimagine Expo. So we're really looking forward to next week. To answer your question about the promotional products industry before I joined it, I was at a company that was trying to earn PPAI's business. So that was kind of my introduction to the industry outside of being a user of promotional products. But like so many end users out there, I was not aware of PPAI Expo or the breadth of the industry and all of the intricacies that are involved. So
Sweet. So what were you doing before you went to work at PPAI that you were trying to earn their business?
So I worked for a association. I worked for a company that sold exhibit space and advertising space and sponsorships on behalf of associations. So I have a lot of knowledge from the association background perspective. So that's where I came from.
Very cool. Very cool. So like Megan told us, we're here to talk about Expo Direct-2-You, which is basically a virtual platform of what we would traditionally know as PPAI Expo out in Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, with the pandemic, there have been some things that have needed to change a little bit, and we're still not quite out of that situation yet. So, you guys have, and I know the board, the PPAI board has worked tirelessly. Anybody that's been associated with a regional association or any type of board involvement, you're used to like maybe a monthly meeting. I know those guys have been meeting weekly, and I'm sure sometimes even more than that. So kudos to them for all the hard work that they've done, and super appreciative of what they've done. But this particular show has been moved to a virtual platform this year, and so that's what we're here to talk to you guys about. That is next week, actually, Monday the 11th through the 14th. It's a 4-day show. And Ellen, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of maybe what the show entails, what people can expect, and then we'll sort of dive into the details, and we'll have some questions for you as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we tried to look at the show and think about the key elements that you get when you go to PPAI Expo, and be able to carry those forward while not looking at it as trying to replace an in-person event with a virtual event, but carrying forward those key things. So those key things are typically community, so your connections and being able to network with your peers and see people that you haven't seen. Knowledge, so being able to take those education classes, and Paul's famous for saying that, it's the annual bake sale or the big sandbox of the industry. And so we still have education from Sage and commonsku, and this year we opened up education sponsorships, which we haven't done in the past. So you have some supplier sponsored education that you can get as well. And then the ability to do business, make those connections between distributors and suppliers. And those are the three kind of pillars of what Expo is there for. And so those are the things that we worked really hard to make sure we were carrying forward. You're not going to have an in-person experience on a virtual platform. That's not a reality. And it's not for anybody. That's not limited to our industry. That's just not a thing trade shows can do. So as you kind of look into what next week is going to be, you should look forward to the excitement of those three pillars and being able to bring those things forward. But you should walk into the show with the mindset that it's a completely new experience, and you're not going to experience it in the same way that you did before, but that doesn't mean that the experience will be any less.
Awesome. So what would you say are some of the biggest issues or I guess
challenges?
The challenge. Thank you, Stephen. What are the biggest challenges with trying to, because like you said, you're not replacing an in-person situation with a virtual. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges with trying to get people to realize that they're not going to get that same experience?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is something that I've actually come to really appreciate, and that is the level of education that everybody needs about the virtual platform, right? So from suppliers who have never gone in and set up a virtual exhibit space or booth or whatever you want to call it, right? A place to be meeting with the distributors. You're starting from scratch on educating them on that and how they need to work their booth on that and how they need to engage in that area. And where typically for the in-person event, suppliers are so used to that. And while we have new exhibitors every year, it's something that everyone's used to, is that in-person trade show piece. And from a distributor standpoint, it's the same thing. They don't know what to expect. And so we're doing a lot more hand-holding and training. But I think every challenge that you get in life can be turned into an opportunity. And the opportunity that we've had is that extra connection with our members and other people within the industry, and being able to spend that extra time. And I think that one of the things that PPAI does best is our customer service and our relationship with our members. And we've only been able to capitalize on that and expand that during this time. So that piece of it's been really awesome to come out of that challenge. But there will be on Monday, when people start going to the virtual show, there will still be lots of questions. And there will be people that either haven't seen the email, or it got lost in all their emails, or they didn't have the chance to look at the webinar about plan and preview and all of that stuff. And there will be a lot of questions, and we'll be very busy answering those, and we'll be doing our best to stay on top of them. But there will be a little bit of a learning curve, just like there is with anything that's new for people.
So
Sure.
speaking of training, I actually, while you were talking, I got an email from you.
I manually
Ellen.
sent that to you.
I know.
while we were on.
Delayed. I'm sure.
And you were inviting people to come in and learn how to operate their booth. And this is for suppliers, I take it. I think that's amazing. I think that really helps at least the suppliers take that edge off, like knowing what to expect instead of jumping in an hour before and then having all these issues. And there's always technical problems or Wi-Fi or anything. So getting that worked out and having a webinar to actually teach everybody, I think is amazing. And it's a great opportunity maybe to like just learn it so you can use it and apply it in your everyday stuff. I don't know what platform are they using
For the show or for that training?
for the show.
Okay. So we're using the Sage platform. So if you attended the Sage show, it is the same platform. Since then, we have worked with them, just like anytime something brand new comes out, there's things that you want to see changed, things that you want to see specific to your event that won't necessarily be on the platform for anybody else. So there's a lot of upgrades and some enhancements and some things that are unique to PPAI. One of the things that I'm most looking forward to at the show is we are doing a Expo Direct-2-You live stream. I was going to call it a stage. It's a physical stage. So we will have a live MC in a studio. And it's the same MC that we've had at our in-person events over by the PPI booth. I'm not sure if y'all have experienced that live stage before. But that's where we're going to be hosting some of the education. That's where we're going to be hosting some of the pop-ups. We really wanted to be able to bring some of that experiential piece to the show. So people have come to know Expo, not just about those 3 pillars, but the experiences they get to have while they're at the show. A few years ago, we had chocolate covered bacon, you have the puppy pop-ups, you have all of those things. And we're still
Goat yoga.
goat yoga
Yeah.
for the morning person. I'm not an early morning person, so I skipped out on that one. But yeah, we're bringing that experiential piece because I think that's one of the things. I think we've all done a lot of things virtually, and whether or not you've been to a virtual trade show this year or not, I've been to plenty as part of like research and learning things. And I think that's one of the things that's missing out on virtual platforms is that experiential piece and that excitement around it. And we're trying to bring that through Expo Direct-2-You Live. We will have some yoga pop-ups and some things like that. We're going to have opportunities to where if you participate in a pop-up, you will get a souvenir to be able to take home. That's something interactive during that pop-up. So we're just trying to make sure that we still bring that fun, experiential engagement piece to the show that I think is, frankly, from a trade show industry perspective, lacking on virtual platforms.
So Ellen, it was interesting to hear that you said you've attended some other shows, which I think is smart. I have as well as a distributor even, but I've been on both sides. So I went to one where I was actually showcasing our company, with potential customers. So in this scenario would have been a supplier perspective. And then I've also been on the other side. And it gave me a lot of empathy for an event like this for a supplier. It gave me a little concern, and I'm just curious, how you guys have approached this, because from my perspective, and of course it wasn't your platform, so this is no induction on you guys, but it was tough. I was a new vendor, so I can imagine if I was a new supplier on this platform, what's to make people click on me? It's like if you don't get clicked on, you don't get seen.
Right.
And that was kind of my experience at a different show. And then from a distributor perspective, we want to meet people we haven't met before, but in a scenario like this, I think people are so comfortable at just they're going to be going to the places they know. Is there incentives put in place? Is there randomization? Like, is there, say, put me in a random booth and I click here and it just pops me into a random one? Like, is there anything like that?
So I think I'll touch on a few things that we have in place that I think help with that. So I would encourage all distributors to go out to expo.ppi.org and /see who is exhibiting. So there's an exhibitor list out there if you go on the site. And on there's a list of all the exhibitors, and we have encouraged exhibitors to provide us with a calendar link to where distributors can go in and make appointments to go to their booth ahead of time, and it will actually populate on their calendar and reserve that time. So we've suggested Calendly only because that's what we're familiar with.
Yeah.
But then on the site, one of the things that we worked with Sage on, and they were a great partner with us on, is enhancing the filters and searchability within the site. So whether that's product categories or companies that have show specials or anything like that. So we've enhanced that piece, which I think will help drive people from that perspective. We have also, the way that the platform is set up is every distributor company will have a different randomized listing order of the exhibitors. So everyone's top row of exhibitors will be different. So if you're in the same distributor company, like so two people within the same company, their list will be the same. So if they're on the phone chatting or something like that and referencing something, they'd be looking at the same view. But that will help both our suppliers from it spreads out and kind of evens out that attendance into their booth. So you're not getting slammed by everyone goes to like the top left corner first. But it will also help some of our newer and smaller exhibitors to be at the top of some people's list. And I think we all kind of start and sort our way down. You know, in the in-person event, the logic was always people either turned left or right and started at the ends and came to the middle. So no matter where you were on the show, you always had like a peak time and then some lull time.
Start in the middle. That's the trick.
Right. That from a distributor perspective, that's what I would do, right? Like that's where the least crowds are. So I really think like that piece of it will help from that perspective. So.
Yeah, all excellent questions, Stevens, because I think that's, you know, some of the biggest concerns, at least on the supplier side of things. You know, when you're exhibiting, you know, you really don't get that interaction unless somebody clicks on your booth. So I want to backpedal just a second because Meg brought up a good point as well, is that you guys are doing a really good job, Ellen, you know, PPAI, as far as putting webinars out there and things like that to educate. You know, I attended the webinar that you guys did a month or so ago, you know, when we were sort of deciding whether or not we were going to exhibit, because I wanted to get as much information as possible. And so the one thing that I would say though, and Ellie even brought it up in the questions, and it's a question I had as well. What would you guys be doing for like non-exhibiting suppliers? I mean, is there any access that they can get into the show? Because I think if you don't have something there, I think you're missing something, because you guys are using that Sage platform. Sage already did their show back in the summer. So we've had the experience, but I think something that was maybe missed was capturing some of that in video to figure out how to then promote it for this show. And I know that decision hadn't been made. So it's kind of difficult to do that in hindsight's 2020. But I guess my question is, since we haven't really seen it and tasted it, we don't really know what it's like. And so we're only going off the information that we have. And it's a difficult decision to make, you know, to spend that money, you know, to do something that, like Steven said, you know, we don't really get the exposure unless somebody decides to click. So what are you guys doing? Just a simple question, like, what are you guys doing for non-exhibiting suppliers?
So non-exhibiting suppliers that are members of PPAI can register for the show, and they will be able to attend education, but they won't have access to any other portion of the platform. So as a member,
or anything like that.
What?
How about lounges and anything like that?
So you won't get that without paying a fee to go in, but you can pay a fee as an individual within a supplier company, a member supplier company that is non-exhibiting, that is less than actually exhibiting, to be able to have access to those lounges.
Okay. Fair enough.
So we do open up that, and it's very similar to actually what we do for the in-person show. So our non-exhibiting member suppliers are able to access education at our in-person event as well, but they're not able to access the trade show floor or anything like that without paying an additional fee.
Sure.
So we do have that option to kind of give you that in-between pricing as a non-exhibiting. We do not open that up to non-member, non-exhibiting companies. That's just a decision that we've had in place for a pretty long time.
Now, using what you guys have learned from the Sage show, using their platform, is that the reason you guys have decided to stretch the thing out into 4 days?
So that was definitely a piece of the consideration. We learned a lot from them having their show. We've learned a lot from attending other shows. So we're very lucky. Bob McLean, I'm sure y'all are familiar with him. He's our vice president. He's one of our 2 vice presidents. He is the board chair for the IAEE, which is the International Association of Events and Exhibits. And so he gets a lot of knowledge and he's able to bring that back. And it's such a resource for us. As you guys know, we really encourage volunteerism. And so we do that ourselves. And so we have a lot of research from the trade show industry perspective. And we've seen a lot of trade shows that actually like are open for 3 months or something like that. And we have found the trade show research shows that that's not necessarily the way to go, but you also don't want to make it too short, right? Because you need to be there, like Stephen was saying, right? You have both perspectives. So you have suppliers who may not want to be accessible for a month, right? On the platform. That's a huge time commitment where 4 days is reasonable. You would have been in Vegas for at least 4 days, probably longer. And then from a distributor's perspective, though, you're sitting in your office, right? So you have other things that you're probably going to be doing during that week because you haven't up and gone to a hotel and stayed somewhere separate. And so from that perspective, we wanted to make sure that as much of the week as possible. So if Monday's slammed for you and Tuesday and Wednesday is better, then that is also available for you. The other thing that we decided to do was have different show floor hours than our full show hours. So our show floor is open from 10 to 4 Central Time, where everything else on the related to the show is open from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. And that's so that if a distributor attendee wants to be able to take education that they didn't want to be able to do live because they wanted to maximize that time with suppliers during the 10 to 4 timeframe, that they can still do that in the evenings or in the mornings. We'll have the virtual product pavilion that they can go in and visit during that time. So there's a lot of opportunities from that perspective to be able to make the show work within your schedule.
Yeah, I think that was it was one of the sticking points for us to, making that decision whether or not to exhibit, and the length of time played a factor in that. I think, for us in particular, 4 days is a long time. And I know you're saying, if you're at Expo in Vegas, you're going to be there for at least 4 days. And I totally get that. But the thing is, I think from my perspective, and I'm one person, okay, and this is no discredit to anything that anybody else has put in or the work that's been put involved in this. But for me personally, as an exhibitor, I would just say, if the virtual format is something that, continues to move forward, 4 days is, for us, we've already been to the shows. Like Vegas is proven. It's a great format. It's an in-person thing. There's a lot of stuff happening off the trade show floor.
100%.
And so for a virtual format, I think, taking that time away just to be dedicated in front of the computer handling the show it's a long time to be away from stuff. We're not doing a ton of lead generation from these because, we've already got a lot of lead generation from the previous number of shows that we've done. And so, yes, you're going to get some lead generation, I think, from doing a virtual show like this. But I think ultimately this probably, in my opinion, could have been a 2 or 3 day show.
And I think that obviously we will know more at the end of next week than we know going into it. We had a lot of discussion about the length of time internally as well. That was a big discussion piece. I think that one of the things that is great about a virtual platform that is actually better than an in-person platform is for exhibitors. You are using a web browser at your desk and you can have that open and you hear a noise anytime somebody comes into your booth so that you can turn over to that. So you don't have to, you can still be multitasking if there's a time frame in which somebody isn't in your booth, and you can still be getting other things done. And while you could do that on your cell phone from your booth, I think we've all talked, that's not the best booth appearance when you're in person, but nobody has that visibility on a virtual platform, and you can kind of multitask. And you also have the ability that if you know that there might be highs and lows in traffic, or if you don't know when the highs and lows are, that you could have some of your booth staff to where you're just going to send them a quick text when they need to log in because you're starting to get more traffic and there's a higher period of time. Where in Vegas or at any in-person trade show, you're maybe calling someone who's back in their hotel room and has to walk all that way. And there's no way to really manage that when there's an unknown flow of traffic, right? So I think from that perspective, we definitely took all of that into consideration. And I understand why some suppliers decided that that wasn't something they could do. But I do think that's actually a benefit for suppliers on the virtual platform side, is that you do have that ability to be present, hear the sound as long as you have that turned on, and be able to do other things and be able to multitask a little bit if time allows from an attendee perspective. Yes, you're not going to want to schedule like a Zoom meeting with a distributor or, you know, a vendor or something like that during show hours, because you won't know that. But I think that we all know there's a lot of things that we can do outside of those pieces of our job if there were a lull during any given time. And I'm sure there will be a time of day that there is a lull, right? Like and it might be different for one supplier than another supplier. And we'll all learn a little bit more about that next week. And I think every industry is probably different when it comes to that. And every show is going to be different.
Sure.
Yeah, I know we actually weren't going to do it, I don't think, or it was on the fence, and I just found out we are doing it. So I actually will be there now. And I know we're doing like 3-hour shifts. So there'll be a couple, like 5 to 10 reps in there at all times. Well, not at all times, but you know, 3-hour shifts.
I think that's also, Meg, a great point for any of the suppliers that are exhibiting. I know a lot of people are doing that, just so you know, when you're not in your booth, because there are some limits on how many staff can be working the booth at a time, depending on your booth level. But your whole staff, because you are an exhibiting supplier, can go out and be in the networking lounges and take education and do anything else within the show. And so I think there's a lot of benefits from that perspective too, of being able to experience those other pieces to the show. And I would encourage all of our supplier partners and exhibitors to be able to do that and encourage their staff to go take education.
I definitely will. I'm going to actually send an email out to everyone and let them know about that. So I didn't know if that's awesome. That's really awesome. So
Hey,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I just had a distributor perspective question, if that's all right.
No.
No. Okay. Sorry.
Back in the base.
So, you know, someone who, you know, I'm registered and I'm curious about like what's ahead of me next week. You know, can you describe maybe like what the experience will be like for a distributor? Is it going to be, is this like, are they all going to be private meetings when you click into something? Is it going to be where I can see a booth as I'm scrolling through and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in and then I have to just wave at the screen until someone sees that I'm there? Or, you know, like what does that experience look like?
So when you come into the show, you'll end up in kind of a main page. We're calling it the lobby, right? Because while we are in the mindset that virtual is different than in person, it would be impossible to get our 12,000 pre-registered attendees to be in that same mindset, right? So we're trying to make some connections for everybody. And in there, you will be able to see the live video from the live stream. You'll be able to see some featured exhibitors and you'll be able to see the progress that you've had so far. We do, and I think you asked this earlier, I may have skipped over it, Stephen. We do have some incentives for distributors on engagement within the platform. So we have a daily prize for the person that's most engaged from a distributor perspective, and those points are earned either by things that they do within a booth, so that chat perspective, viewing products, viewing booth materials, or going into a networking lounge or taking education. So we have that per day, and then we have an overall show where there's going to be 3 top winners on the distributor side, and that's limited to the distributors to encourage that engagement. And so you'll be able to see that leaderboard as well, so you kind of can see where you fall on that if you're competitive and want to participate in that. And then when you go to the show floor, you will have a randomized order of exhibitors that you can kind of filter through. So in addition to the list that I mentioned on the PPAI site, you can also go into Sage Mobile ahead of time and create a walk list and be able to sort that exhibitor list by that feature. And when you click on a booth, you will be able to engage with anything the suppliers have uploaded there. So they have a video, they have booth materials, and then they have featured products. And those featured products, one of the, when we were deciding which platform to go with, one of the things that we really took into consideration on that was the tie-in to Sage and being able to click on that product and being able to see all of that information. It also made it easier for the suppliers on an exhibiting standpoint of being able to easily upload that information versus having to go in, upload a picture again. I mean, our suppliers are already doing that on variety of different search engine tools. And so we wanted to make it as easy for them. So you will also be able to connect over directly to that product in Sage. You'll be able to scan yourself in the booth. You'll be able to request samples or take a note on what you saw in the booth that you liked. And then after the show, you'd be able to go into your sagemember.com login and access those notes and download them. And then you can start a chat with the exhibit staff personnel, and that's on the right-hand side of the screen. And so at the top of that area, you'd be able to see which staff are currently working the booth. And if they have a picture uploaded, you'll be able to see that. But either way, you'll be able to see their name. And if they have 2 Megs, then their last name will also be there. So you know which Meg you're going to be talking to. And once you start that text conversation, there's an opportunity to turn on a video chat. And so that would pop up over where the video is on the left, their welcome video. And so some suppliers may have opted out of that. So they may, turn that down, and vice versa, right? A exhibit staff personnel can engage with you in conversation, and they could ask you to join a video chat, and you could turn them down that perspective too. So everyone has different comfortable levels with video chat. So we want each individual to be able to choose that for themselves.
People have to make sure their shirts are buttoned too, right, Meg?
Yeah.
And
I would encourage, we're doing a webinar later today on that's going to kind of show the platform and walk distributors through what that looks like. And we'll have that on our website afterwards, that if you aren't able to make it live today at 1 p.m. Central, that you can go and watch that recording and kind of get a sneak peek into the platform, so that on Monday morning, you're not
nervous
walking into something you've never seen before.
I think to Jeff's point, that might be something great for the non-exhibiting suppliers, to be able to peek into that as well, to see that. Was that kind of what you were referring to, Jeff? Something like that?
Just anything that's available to the non-exhibiting suppliers to get a feel for, what they would be missing. If there's something that's going to, like, if it's going to move forward in that platform beyond just Expo Direct-2-You in 2021, it'd be nice to see what non-exhibiting suppliers are missing.
Yeah, and we will definitely have some videos of this year and all of that. But obviously it's our first show, and so we didn't have anything to build off of for this year.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm
And,
super excited now that I'm doing it. Like, I'm like, yes.
Deb
Sorry, Jeff, you had a question.
chimed in on the comments, and she just wanted to know if there's a link to the participating suppliers. So I know we talked about that earlier in the show. And if you go to expo.ppai.org and then /c-who-is-at-show, you can actually get that information, or you can just go to the Direct-to-You experience and click on the different links and get all that information.
Yeah, if you click Direct-to-You experience and then you scroll down, it says a distinctly different experience. The See More Exhibitors is a hyperlink that takes you directly to the links of those.
Absolutely. Ellen, would you be willing to share, some different numbers that you guys have to sort of get people excited about what's coming up? Like, how many exhibitors do you have registered? How many attendees do you have registered? That sort of info?
So we have 500 exhibitors registered. So we're super excited about that. We've exceeded what our goal was set at. So
yeah, that's spot on for where you said you thought it would be about a month ago on that. On the platform.
So I think we're 495 to be precise, but we'll probably be at 500 by the end of the week. And then we are right between 11,000 and 12,000 pre-registered distributors. And that's representative of, I believe, 4,300 distributor companies.
Wow.
So from a distributor company perspective, that's right on par with the in-person event. And from a individual perspective, that is pretty close to what we usually end up with on site. So
how many Stevens are registered? Did you have that?
I don't know, but there's only one Stephen McFadden registered.
Okay, good. All right.
I don't think he registered yet.
No, I did. I actually did.
So, and I will tell you guys, I have obviously a sales background. Tervis Tumbler is exhibiting. So for all the listeners out there, they should definitely go by and check out their booth.
For sure. I have one more question, actually.
Damn it, Nick, don't mess up my segue. Ellen gave me a layup, and you're going to get in the way. You definitely talked Tervis.
He's got something important.
I've got to mention how Tervis is our awesome sponsor of this show, and then I'll allow you to launch into your very important dialogue.
Okay.
All right. Listen, Tervis is a great stainless line. You can check them out at Expo Direct-2-You next week, or you could go straight to the website at tervispromos.com and get a preview, a head start. But definitely be sure to check them out next week at Expo Direct-2-You. But they've added stainless to their well-established line about 2 years ago as well, with the goal of being better than the competition by utilizing that state-of-the-art custom 360-degree UV printing. They're available in 4 different sizes, 12, 20, 30, 12, 20, or 30 ounce, and then they've also got a 24-ounce water bottle. They've got a 5-year warranty. They're 18.8 copper lined, vacuum insulated. They keep your drinks hot for 8 hours. They keep your drinks cold for 24 hours. You got some great product there. Go check them out at tervispromos.com, and then swing by their booth next week at Expo Direct-2-You. Now, Meg, on to you.
So PPEF, usually that's like a really big opportunity for them to do their fundraising. It's their biggest fundraising. We know we had them on probably a month or so ago. Did I see like a link? And I don't remember if we even talked about this when we had Brian Porter on, but is there a spot for people to be able to donate and do like the Giving Tree type thing that they normally would be able to do?
Yeah, so they're doing something a little bit different and virtual this year, and I'm going to mess up what it's called, so I'm not even going to try. But it's this cool online grid where if you donate any amount, that your image will start to get seen. And so it's like a fun way to be able to get your picture out there, or your picture with your pet, or whatever fun photo you want to put. We will be doing some stuff with them on Expo Live to get that message out. And then in all of our events, we'll be making sure to feature that and encourage members to give to them, because that is a big piece for them, and raising money. And obviously what they do is so great for the industry and from an education perspective. They will also have a networking lounge. So the networking lounge at the show, there are the PPAI ones, which is everything from we have PPEF in there, even though it's a separate foundation. We have our volunteer lounge. We have a women's leadership lounge. We have a young professionals lounge.
Sparks got a lounge. Yeah.
And then every regional was offered a lounge as well. And so it's also a great opportunity when you go in there to go and connect with your regional community and engage with the executive director or any of the board members that are in there talking. And they have in the networking lounge areas, you can do, there's a group chat area within the lounge, and then you can also do one-on-one conversation within there with other attendees that are in there at the same time. So
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions for Ellen?
That's it.
Awesome.
Oh, good.
Well, I look forward to next week, but I really look forward to after that as well, because the way that PPI continues to improve is hearing from our members and what they want in the future. And you can only try what you have knowledge with, right? And that's the only way we can grow. So I truly appreciate all the feedback we get, both the positive and negative, because that's what makes us better and helps us to be able to provide what our members truly need.
For sure. Ellen, it was great having you. And I don't know, did you plug I know I saw that in the PPB news link that went out yesterday, there was a couple things that were plugged for things that are happening today to get more education on Expo Direct-2-You. Did you plug the thing that you're doing here in a couple hours?
I think I mentioned it a few times. If you go out to ppi.org and go to our education portion of this, the website, you can get linked over to the webinar. It's at 1 p.m. Central. But if you don't make it there, we're going to have that on demand recorded. As I said, it's a great opportunity for distributors, and suppliers can obviously watch it as well, to be able to go in and see what they're going to be seeing next week and be able to learn a little bit about how to sort the exhibitor list and which areas of the show to explore and kind of how to manage your time. And then from a supplier perspective, we're doing 2 sessions for booth staff personnel, but we'll also put that out on the website, the Expo website. And so non-exhibiting suppliers are welcome to go out and check that out. We'll spend a lot of time on the back end piece of things and how suppliers will be able to engage in that chat and that kind of thing so that they can be prepared and learn how to manage that piece of it.
Awesome. Very good. Ellen, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show to give us a little bit of insight as to what to expect next week, and really appreciate it. You brought a lot of good information for us to digest, so thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.